Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Real Report. Right now on the screen, you're looking at the Rungis, largest wholesale fresh produce market in the world that was on fire yesterday. They are a well-known produce market and hub responsible for supplying much of Paris and its surrounding region with fresh food. The Rungis market is often described as the largest fresh produce market of its kind in the world, dating back to the 12th century. The expansive market, which has been in existence for many centuries, caught on fire yesterday at one of the warehouses. One or more warehouses at Rungis have been engulfed in flames. Paris firefighters are battling a warehouse blaze at a massive produce market that supplies France's capital and its surrounding region with much of its fresh food and bills itself as the largest of its kind. The Rungis market is also, again, one of the oldest large food markets in the world, with the site being operational as a food and produce center going back to at least the 12th century, when various permanent structures began being erected, making it a permanent feature of the city. This has become a pretty common trend. Quick fun fact about the market.
It's an extraordinary place. It's talked about everywhere.
It's the world's biggest fresh produce market.
This comes from India.
10,000 tons of food pass through Rungis each night.
It's a different world.
40,000 people in total work across the whole site.
Everyone's asleep at this hour, it's great.
Rungis is a city within a city, with separate neighborhoods dedicated to each type of food.
So as you can see, the place is absolutely massive. It's essentially a small city. And again, they said there's over 40,000 workers there. So again, this is just another one to add to the well over tens and tens, well over 100 food processing plants that have burnt down, experienced outages, and the problem is only going to be worse. We've got a couple more things to cover real quick, such as the water crisis, German producers having trouble, and a little bit on the Syrian grain harvest. So stick around if you guys want to hear that. But if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like the video, and comment anything interesting down below, even if it's just a thumbs up, because it's going to help me out a lot. So continuing with the food crisis theme, you guys really need to prepare if you haven't already. I don't know how you can look around at everything going on in the world today. And in the last two Food and Famine on the Wave videos I did, I briefly touched on over 30 reasons that we are absolutely going to have food insecurity, to say the least. If you guys haven't checked those out, I would strongly recommend so. Now, the global water crisis could crush the energy industry, which is just going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy and make food shortages even worse. In recent months, we've seen extreme droughts across Europe and the U.S. Huge impact recent droughts have had on both food security and energy production. Labeled Europe's worst drought in 500 years, and I did a video on the worst drought in 1,200 years. The low water levels have restricted shipping capabilities as well as drying up soil and reducing summer crop yields. Without water, enough water, we cannot produce the energy we need, or we can't ship the fuels for filling the power plants they're talking about. Nuclear power plant operators rely on water from rivers to cool their nuclear reactors, and the falling water levels have also hindered traditional energy operations such as coal output. That's from the European energy firm. Now, water scarcity is perhaps the most detrimental to hydropower projects, naturally. Norway, for example, threatened to limit its power exports due to low reservoir levels. The country relies on hydropower for 90% of its electricity production. With several areas of the world seeing poorer harvests this year, and countries are worried about the food production levels, as they should be. German producers warn of food shortages. Manufacturers of both frozen and fresh products say they cannot cope with the soaring energy costs, which is convenient because if you guys didn't see the headline this morning, they're having more problems with a gas leak on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Germany's frozen and fresh food producers have warned that rising energy prices may soon force them to stop operations. Companies now fear that production lines will soon come to a standstill and that refrigerated logistics centers for food distribution will be closed. Some are even preparing for possible insolvency. Financial standing of food producers is deteriorating every day, which could soon result in a wave of bankruptcies in the industry. They're calling for financial support for the energy-intensive medium-sized producers in the deep freeze chain. Food industry is currently experiencing the worst crisis get this, since the end of the Second World War. You know, we keep coming back to that date. And to wrap things up, the climate change conflict decimates Syria's grain crop. Rains come too late, ended too soon for wheat crop to flourish, the ability of farmers to finance new planting seasons questioned, and the bulk of wheat growers rely on rainfall because irrigation is costly. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, again, they're saying much of the world will factually experience severe food insecurity, aka famine and death. Syria's 2022 wheat harvest is down 75% from pre-crisis volumes, while barley was almost non-existent. So this trend keeps continuing. Remember, everything that is not only not being harvested now, that they can't plant next year, it's really 2023 that we're going to be looking at the food shortages because, again, you don't have the fertilizer, you don't have the seeds, you don't have the equipment, you don't have the parts, you don't have anything in the supply chain 1 through 100 that you need to get food from the farm to table. And pretty much we're seeing a systemic breakdown in the entire chain. So stock up, prep now, add extra cans to your shelf. Especially rice, pastas, things with a very long shelf life. Do what you can with what you got where you're at. I'll see you guys on the next one. Again, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below. Godspeed.